Hello, my name is Jess. That is Hubble. Oh. And welcome back to my channel where I talk about books, writing, and living a creative life. Looks like Hubble will be joining us today. Hopefully he will settle down pretty soon. But today I wanted to talk about having the fun first. So let's go ahead and get started. So when we were kids, we were told you have to eat your dinner before you have your dessert. You know, there are certain things we were taught as kids that I think kind of continue on into our adult lives. So, like, you have to do your homework before you can go outside and play. And I found for a while that a lot of the way I was structuring my creative time was actually after I had done all of the important, grown-up things. Like, I had to do the dishes, I had to do my homework first for college, I had to take the dog out, I had to make sure, dinner was ready and all this stuff. And by the time I got down to actually sit down and write, I was kind of exhausted from the rest of all the other things that I had been doing that I assumed I wouldn't be able to set aside in order to do my creative stuff first. So, since we are fully functioning adults here, if you're not, I don't know if this applies to you, maybe. I think it's important to do the creative thing first, to fulfill that creative well before you do important things or grown-up things, like chores or, other adult things that are always going to be there. Now, I feel like I should specify by saying, sorry, I don't know what to do with my arm. I should specify by saying, if there are things that have to get done that will be a detriment to your life if you don't do them, of course, do those things first. Like if your bill payment is that day or is late or something, of course, do that first before you do your creative stuff. Like this is talking just about the average everyday, not those. If you're in a completely different circumstance and this is not for you, it just felt like I should preface. But it is okay to do your passionate, as long as you're not in that situation, it's okay to do the things you're passionate about first. Not neglecting your responsibilities, not never doing the dishes or never doing, the adult things that you have to do, but just changing your thought process a little bit. So part of having the fun first, it's more than just, thinking like childish thoughts, I guess. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm sorry. I wrote out an outline, but it's not making sense. All I'm saying is that the dishes will always be there. The bills will always be there. All these things are just distractions at this point. They're things to prevent you from doing the things that you want to. There is no better time to create than, well, really yesterday, but now. Let's do now. So I think it's important to kind of change your thought process a little bit about these things. The flip side of this, though, is that you can turn your creative things into a to-do list, and that kind of takes away the fun of it, which we can do in a different video maybe someday. I honestly may have already covered it. I'm worried that I'm going to do the same exact videos over and over and over again and not realize it at all. So that is something I should probably work through, but that's another thing too. So, but being creative first, so for a while I was in school, I was working part-time, and I, had Hubble to deal with and a lot of other, call his name, and, just adult responsibilities. I had dishes to do, dinner to make, things, that had to be done. So I think I really discovered this during the pandemic when I was just home the whole time, is that I felt like I needed to do all my schoolwork, I needed to do dinner, I needed to do, all of the adult things, and then I could write in the evening. The problem is that the schoolwork didn't really stop, because going to college in the pandemic was not fun. Let me just say. I don't blame the teachers. I know that, that was not how they were planning their semester to go. But in one class in particular, I had so much work it never stopped. I did not have a day off of school. There was always something that needed to be done. Oh, a due date every other day. I mean, just busy work, busy stuff that wasn't, I don't know. I could get into that, but I'm not going to. So I really had to make the time to be creative, because on top of staring at my computer all morning for class, I then was also working at the school too, which I'm so grateful that they let us work from home during all that stuff. But I was just never off my computer. There was always something I needed to be doing. There was always that thing in the back of my mind saying, you really shouldn't have time, your creative time. You really should do the responsible things. You should do your homework. You should do, your work online. And I found that I was just getting so drained because I wasn't doing the creative stuff anymore. So I ended up doing like NaNoWriMo, like one of the camp nanos in April, which is where you can choose your own word count, which are great. There's another one coming in July. We will get there. So I kind of had to force myself to write every day. And I made that goal for myself that I was going to do the creative thing, regardless of whatever other responsibilities I had. It was important for me to do this goal for myself. And I learned that if I did the creative stuff first thing in the morning before school even started, my whole day was open. I didn't feel that nagging in the back of my head of while I was writing in the evening that I had homework I needed to do. And I didn't have that nagging while I was writing of that I had homework to do because it was first thing in the morning. So I found that's what worked for me. It may not be that way for you, and that's fine too with whatever creative endeavor you are doing. But I just found it so interesting that I had to change my way of thinking, as in it's okay to have dessert first. It's okay to do the fun stuff first before the responsible adult things like school. It's fine. And I really took my creative time as a way to care for myself, to practice self-care. I think a lot of times we see self-care as like bath bombs, and we see it as like, oh, this stuff you can buy, because of course it's become marketed to us to now have to buy things. Yay. But it's so important to take that time to be creative for yourself in whatever way that is, whether it be drawing or dancing or I don't know why those are the only two creative things I can think of. Streaming, like digital art, digital design, all that stuff. I think it's important to do the creative stuff first because that can get put off for years. And then you'll look back and realize that you've never created any of the things that you wanted to. And I know I would have many regrets if I didn't start creating when I did. I still have some regrets, which is fine. Creativity happens when it needs to, and there's no reason to add regret onto that. But having fun first is okay. It's okay to do your creative things before you do the more adult things, I guess. And it's also okay to cut yourself some slack. So it is officially 2:00 in the afternoon, and I have not written a single word today. So no, the fact that I'm doing this video, the irony is not lost on me. But the timing worked out for this video for a multitude of reasons to do it now. But after this, I am going to do some writing, and I am going to give myself the freedom to write and to not put pressure on myself that I didn't do it early this morning, if that'll make sense. So that's also part of the self-care thing. I don't know, creativity is so interesting because it's, I don't want to say a two-edged sword exactly, but like there's a fine line between making it a chore that you have to check off your list to never doing it because you're doing the chores. And it's just a different way of thinking about it, so not sure if any of these thoughts or rambles really helped anybody. But I think it's interesting to think about, to just change your way of thinking a little bit so you can start creating, because really the hardest part is creating in the first 15 minutes, in my humble opinion, from what I have found with my own creativity. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, my rambles, the pup. Yeah, just something to think about. Maybe, today, instead of doing the dishes, I don't want to encourage anybody to do something that, is detrimental to their life, but dishes can wait. It's important to create. So anyway, I think that's it for me, Ann Hubble, today. So thank you guys so much for watching if you made it all the way to the end. I try to post regularly, at least once a week, something creative and something book related. So if that's remotely interesting to you and you feel like sticking around, I would love to talk with you. Feel free to comment down below. Y'all already know this though. So I guess this is goodbye from me and goodbye from Hub. I'll see you next time. Bye.